Many Christians live with a quiet fear deep inside their hearts, the feeling that no matter how much they pray, obey, or serve God, it still might not be enough. The Apostle Paul addressed this exact struggle in Colossians chapter 2 while writing from a Roman prison to the church in Colossae. False teachers had entered the church promoting strict religious rules, ceremonial laws, traditions, and human philosophies as the path to deeper spirituality. Their teachings sounded holy and serious, but they were slowly pulling believers away from the simplicity of Jesus Christ. Paul responds with one central truth. Believers are already complete in Christ. Not almost complete, not someday complete, but complete now through Jesus. He explains that all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are found in Christ alone. Nothing else needs to be added. Human traditions, rituals, and religious systems cannot provide what only Christ can give. The false teachers encouraged observance of ceremonial practices such as circumcision, food regulations, festivals, new moons, and ceremonial Sabbaths. Paul explains that these things were only shadows pointing forward to Christ. Once Christ came, the shadow had fulfilled its purpose because the true substance had arrived. Paul's argument was not against God's moral law, but against the idea that salvation could be earned through religious performance and external observances. Paul warns believers not to become trapped in a religion focused only on outward behavior. Rules alone cannot transform the heart. A person may appear spiritual on the outside while remaining empty within. Real transformation comes only through connection with Christ. That is why Paul uses the image of a rooted tree. A healthy tree grows naturally because its roots are deep. In the same way, the Christian life grows from being deeply rooted in Jesus, not from forcing religious performance. One of the biggest misunderstandings addressed in Colossians 2 involves the Sabbath. Paul's discussion about festivals, new moons, and Sabbaths refers to ceremonial observances connected to the Old Covenant sanctuary system, not the weekly seventh-day Sabbath established at creation. The ceremonial Sabbaths pointed forward to Christ's future work, while the seventh-day Sabbath existed before sin and served as a reminder of God as Creator. Paul's purpose was to protect Gentile believers from pressure to keep ceremonial laws as a requirement for salvation. At the heart of Paul's message is the difference between living for acceptance and living from acceptance. Many people try to obey God in order to earn His love, but Paul teaches that believers obey because they already have God's love through Christ. Obedience is not the path to completeness. It is the result of already being complete in Jesus. This changes the entire motivation of the Christian life. Instead of fear, believers can live with assurance. Instead of exhaustion, they can live with peace. Instead of constantly trying to prove themselves worthy, they can rest in the finished work of Christ. Paul also warns against judging other believers based on external practices. Some Christians create communities built around rules, traditions, and comparisons where people are afraid to admit weakness or failure. But Paul describes the church as one body connected to Christ, growing together through love and grace. Spiritual maturity is not measured by outward strictness, but by remaining connected to Jesus. The message of Colossians 2 is deeply countercultural because the world constantly tells people they are incomplete and must do more to become enough. Even religion often becomes a system of endless performance. But Paul boldly declares that completeness is not something believers chase in the future. In Christ, completeness is already their present reality. This does not mean Christians stop growing spiritually. Growth still matters, but growth now flows from life already given by Christ. Like a living tree growing stronger roots and fuller branches, believers grow because they are already alive in Him. Spiritual growth is no longer about earning salvation, but about experiencing more deeply the fullness already found in Jesus. Paul reminds believers that the cross was not the beginning of human effort. It was the completion of salvation. Jesus already accomplished what humanity could never achieve on its own. The gospel is not try harder. The gospel is, it is finished. Because of Christ's finished work, believers no longer need to live under the burden of fear, shame, or constant striving. The false teachers offered complexity, but Paul offered Christ. They offered systems and requirements, but Paul offered grace. They offered a path toward completeness. while Paul declared that completeness already belongs to everyone who is in Jesus. That is the heart of Colossians 2. In Christ, believers already possess everything they truly need. Their identity, acceptance, peace, and salvation are secure in Him. The Christian life is not about trying to become complete through religious effort. It is about walking daily in the freedom, assurance, and transformation that come from already being complete in Christ.